Welcome to Startup Simplified, Wassem.
I'm Vin.
How are you, sir?
I'm very good. Excited to be here.
Awesome. Okay, so let's get started. Just give us a background, give us an idea about where you're from, how was it growing up?
Okay, great. So I come from a very small city, which is very close to Delhi, which is capital of India. The city is called Ghaziabad. I spent my initial years in Saibabad, district is Ghaziabad, and after my primary education there, I moved to Delhi, where I did my undergrad and graduation. And after that, I had a very non-linear career.
Okay.
I started working with a government company. So you know how difficult it is to get into the government.
Exactly.
organization.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then everyone in your family wants you to get into the government job, and once you are in the government job, your life is set.
Yeah.
Right. So I was there.
Quote unquote set.
Quote unquote. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So quote unquote set. So, but that was not something that was not fascinating enough for me.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided this is something that I can't do whole my life.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And it so happened around that time, I got a call from one of my friends from Gurgaon. She was working with an IT company,
Okay.
and it was a venture funded company.
Okay. When was this? Which year?
This was 2007.
Okay.
Right. So I graduated in 2005. I worked with this government company for 2.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
One of the best in the country. And then I told her I'm not enjoying it.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, my boss is looking for someone like you.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you come and see him?
Mm-hmm.
So I had a conversation with him. I went to see him in Gurgaon and I met him. And I liked what he was offering.
Okay. And what was he offering?
So he was trying to create one new division. And they were working on reward and recognition.
Okay.
And they had a budget of, at that time, they had a budget of $1 million for recognizing their employees across the world.
Okay.
And I went there and I said, why do you need money to appreciate your employees?
Mm.
Right? You need a good policy.
Mm.
Right? You need an empathetic culture.
Mm.
Right? I think I can do it at a much, maybe you don't have to invest $1 million. I can do it at $500,000, maybe.
Mm.
And it's worth trying.
Mm.
And he said, why don't you come and, I'm looking for someone like you. Come and join me.
Mm.
And he made an offer and I accepted it. I left my job, did not inform my parents. and I said, so fortunately or unfortunately, I come from a background where my parents are not very educated.
Sure.
So they don't know what I'm doing. Right. So I have to tell them, oh, I'm in a government job. So they'll be very happy. But I never told them I'm doing the government job. So, okay. And after a few months, I told them, I'm earning more, but I'm no more with the government. Right. So somehow they started adjusting to the fact that, yeah, he's working with a private company, more demanding, but more rewarding.
Sure.
And this is where I got to learn that you can create a company, even if you don't have money. There are people in the market who are willing to fund it.
Sure.
If you have a good idea, if you have a good team.
Okay.
Right. And I worked with this venture-backed company for 2007 to late 2008. 18 months.
18 months.
18 months. So I worked there for 18 months. The guy who hired me, he left the company.
Okay.
And then I said, no, the job was not excited enough for me. So the boss was so challenging. He would, every quarter, he'll give me a new challenge and I feel so excited about it. And 18 months later, everything was like very monotonous. And I said, this is not what I'm going to do. So then again, I took another break and I stopped doing anything. So I was idle for almost like 6 months.
Okay.
So I tried some stock trading and all those things.
Sure.
And then I got another call from a friend. So fortunately, what has happened in my career is I've got a call to work with people.
Okay.
So very rarely I have to go and interview. So another call, all right, and then you are so much into reading and all those things. Would you want to take an assignment on teaching? So I said, okay,
Teaching. Okay.
assignment.
Okay.
So, and that was one of the very, not in terms of money, but in terms of the satisfaction, most satisfying.
Very fulfilling.
Very fulfilling. So I started teaching management graduate in, so first I started from Delhi, Vasant Kunj. Then I moved on to Greater Noida. And I did that, I think that was the longest corporate stint that I had.
With which company was this?
So there was this an institute which was run by a mutt called Sringeri Mutt, and I taught there for 1.5 years. Then I went to an institute called ILM Groups, and we taught the management institute management graduates there.
What were you teaching? What were your specialization?
Teaching organizational behavior. I took some courses on leadership.
Okay.
And 2.5 years I was there. And then I got a call from Deloitte.
Okay.
And so would you want to manage project for us?
Okay.
I said, okay, new challenge, I'm okay. And then I went to Deloitte. So while I went to Deloitte, I was also trying to work on some on the side. I was working on my startup.
Okay.
And for that startup, I had a 18-year-old guy from IIT Delhi as an intern.
So someone who's still studying at IIT.
He was in second year.
Okay.
So he was in second year. I hired him as an intern, and so we did few projects together, and I lost touch with him.
Okay.
And then I started working with Deloitte, and during that time I got a call from him. So after working on some small projects, we lost touch, and after a few years I got a call from him saying, "Where are you?" I said, "I'm in Vasant Kunj." So I was staying in Vasant Kunj, and he was in IIT Delhi. So walking distance. So he said, "Can I see you?" I said, "Okay, I'm available in the evening after office. We can catch up." And then he was working with another startup where his co-founders were not agreeing to give him the equity that was promised to him.
Okay. The standard issues.
Yes, standard issues. I said, why are you fighting for that small insignificant portion of the equity? I think it was 2% for him. They were offering him 0.5%. He was expecting 2%. And I said, why don't you come, I have an idea and let us start working on that idea. We will become equal partner.
Okay. All right. Let me just stop you for a very quick question. This 2% equity which he was fighting about, what happened to that startup?
I don't think that startup is anymore.
Right. Okay. So the reason why I ask you is because I keep meeting a lot of aspiring founders and anyone who's setting up a company. Always in the very early days is very stingy about the equity and more. And my conversation's always like, hey, listen, 100% of zero is still zero. 1% of 100 million or a billion is a massive amount.
Correct.
Right? So I mean, I think it gets very tricky with especially with the first time founders. They're always that, I want to save equity whichever way possible. I want more. Not realizing the fact that, hey, listen, you got to bring in value for your equity to be valuable enough.
True. But what has happened is when we are starting up the our companies or startups, in our mind we are building $1 billion company.
Correct. Always.
So we are not fighting. This is not zero of 100% is still zero.
Yeah.
It is always 100% of $1 billion.
Yeah.
Right. And so that is how we operate. That's how it is. So when every startup founder in the beginning, in his mind he's already created $1 billion company, right? So and then he's starting from that $1 billion. Oh, I have to give him 2%. No, I can't. Right. So that's how it starts. But over the period, people mature. Founders also mature. So at that point, I said, why are you fighting for that insignificant equity? I have had sufficient savings. Let us work. There's an idea that is I'm thinking of. Let us start working on it, and you become my co-founder. And this 18-year-old guy, he not only became co-founder, he became the CEO of the company, and we worked together while I was working in Deloitte.
Okay.
And I was generating my salary or getting my salary. I was putting all
your funding
saving and on my. I was also the angel to my watch. Right. So I was putting money there. And
what was the startup all about?
It was I'm talking about 2013-14, and we were trying to create a digital space for artists.
Digital space for artists back then. Okay.
Yes, back then. So there's like the NFTs of this today's world, but the term NFT was not there, and even of course not aware.
Yeah.
But then we pivoted to something else, and this was the time when websites were getting created, or people were moving from website to applications.
Correct.
Right. So all the things, and it was mobile first product that were getting developed.
Sure.
And we pivoted from this company called Touch Talent to a company called Dobble AI, which is a mobile keyboard. It's one of the smartest keyboards that you can use in India in vernacular language.
Okay.
So I'll come to that story.
Sure.
And so we started working on that, and I was working with Deloitte, and I had some very good bosses. And so they gave me the flexibility to operate from home at the time. And I would go only when I have to see the client for presentation.
Okay.
Otherwise, I just work from home and work on my startup. So we started building the startup, and it so happened that while I was driving back from IIT Delhi at 2 o'clock in the morning, I fell asleep on my steering. And I ended up hitting an auto which was parked next to me on red light.
Wow.
And that was the time when I realized I can't be doing two things.
Sure.
I need decent time to...
So this was only under the influence of work?
Yes, absolutely work. No, I don't drink, I don't do all those things.
Sure.
And this was absolutely under the pressure of work, and I was overstressed.
Yeah.
And so I, fortunately, nothing happened.
Sure.
So it was just a small hit, and I just said sorry to the guys, and I said, okay, I was overstressed, and I slept off the steering. I was just trying to reach home, which is like just 100 meters away from here. And so it so happened, and I realized that was one of the eye openers that you should be, you should manage your work well. So then I took a call that I cannot be working simultaneously on my own startup and on the assignment. So I resigned, and I moved on to start working on this startup.
Sure.
So we started from a 2-bedroom apartment in Wassem Mohd, and we extended to another 2 bedrooms, so 2 plus 2. Then 2 plus another 2, 6 bedrooms, and everyone was working, all guys, young guys from college, and we started working. And then we also continued the same culture. So we took a big farmhouse in Wassem Mohd, where there were 2 parts of the building. One building people were staying, and the second building where we'll get up, get ready, and come to work.
So it's like just crossing
the
hall room to work.
Walking distance or commuting distance between the home and the office was like few seconds.
Sure.
And I remember saying, we invited head of Google India to our office. So it had a swimming pool, it had a football field, and whatnot. And there was staff, there was chef, everyone was there. And you will get everything on the table. You don't have to spend anything on your basic things that you need in your life. And you will get everything in the office. We had people who will cook for us, breakfast, lunch, dinners, and everything was served on the table in the rooms wherever you want. The only thing was you build the product, right? Create the product, which people would love.
Sure.
And we will occasionally invite people to speak to our team members.
Motivate the team.
And and experience sharing.
Sure.
So we invited head of Google at that time to our office, and he wrote on Twitter that and he clicked the picture and he posted it on Twitter. Can you imagine what is there is a place in Delhi where the commuting distance between the office and home is just few seconds. Right, so that's the kind of culture we provided to our team members. 2019, I took a call to move out of the company and move to Malaysia.
Why?
My girlfriend was in Malaysia, and I was frequently visiting her.
Okay.
And I like the culture here, and I realized it's a good geography to explore.
Okay.
And while this was going on, I also got an offer from one of the companies for a strategic buyout.
Of Bobble.
Of Bobble. So it was not directly from the company. They invested money in the company, and then I took a partial exit from there.
Sure.
And though I continue to hold significant equity there, but I operationally took an exit.
Okay.
And this we are talking about 2018 and 19.
Okay.
So Bobble is now a decent size company, couple of $100 million company, and approximately 200 employees. Essentially, we have
still in that farmhouse or moved out?
We have now moved out. We have office in Gurgaon.
Nice.
The team size is very big.
Of course.
Now, so
yeah.
200 people.
Got it. True.
But I still miss those.
It's gonna become a cult of sorts if you put 200 people.
If you go and search on Google, you will see some of these very nice images of people working by the side of the pool, or they're just hanging out, and then every quarter we'll have a food party, right? If we hit some certain numbers.
No, what's interesting is because this is way before all these things became a fad or a common practice, right?
Yes.
This is way before that crazy amount of money started pumping into ecosystem and people went bonkers. This was way before that you were doing it.
I remember we moved to a formal corporate office in 2016. Right, from 2013, we were operating in this home kind of culture where you stay and morning you just get up, get ready, come to work. You don't have to commute, you don't have to waste your energy on commuting and on time. And so that was the kind of culture we created. And most of the team members, most of the leadership of Bobble is still continuing. These guys are same, even after 10 years.
So,
Right, so that was wonderful culture. But again,
so you moved to Malaysia in 2019.
I moved to Malaysia in 2019.
Okay.
Yeah. And then I explored Southeast Asia and traveled to Thailand, Indonesia, Vietnam, Cambodia, Philippines, spent a couple of months in these countries. And I realized this is a very different geography.
Yeah.
And one of the thing that fascinated me was people were not they were cooking at home. They were always eating out.
Yeah, throughout Southeast Asia.
Southeast Asia. And this is something that fascinated me. And I was like, in my mind, can I adjust to this culture? And in India, so people are always, they would have maid and moms at home.
Yeah.
So they will get cooked food.
Correct.
So in the morning, they'll have breakfast at home, carry lunch in the office.
Correct.
And in the evening, family will wait for their dinner.
Sure.
Right, which is unlike Southeast Asia. And I was so surprised, can I adjust into this culture? And now I cannot imagine going back to Indian culture where I have to sit with my family and have breakfast every morning.
Correct.
And then carry lunch. I don't carry lunch, but you have to, you could just grab and go check all these things.
Correct.
And now, what I was, when I was going through this entire journey of what should I be doing, this is F&B appeared to be one of these very promising opportunity, right? And not from the delivery sides. When I go to restaurant, I'll see people are still using the very traditional way of manual ordering. And again, I'm talking about late 2019 and just before COVID. And I had this, and I still believe that ultimately this entire experience of ordering inside the restaurant has to move to technology. So the moment you move things to technology, there are a lot of opportunities you open up, right? Because you have a lot of data. And with that idea, I reached out to some of my previous investors.
Okay.
And I told them this is something that I'm trying. And I am convinced that this is going to be big.
Okay. So let's push it a bit back. So let's say I was one of those early investors who haven't invested in EasyEat yet. And you reached out. What did you tell me?
So the first pitch, very first pitch was that people are becoming more and more conscious of what they're eating. They would want to know and have control on what they're eating. So we are developing a technology. When you go to the restaurant, the menu would be on your phone, and every item that you're eating, you will have the details, the description, the calorific value, what is the level of
nutrition, protein,
carbs, cholesterol. So the moment you click it, it will tell you what does this item include and how healthy or unhealthy it is.
Okay.
And some of the investors liked the idea, and we got $500,000 on pen and paper, and not even the team was there. So I told them, I will be creating a team. I have few team members in my mind, and this is what I'm trying to create. And would you be willing to put money into this idea? And this again a very interesting story here about how this is connected to Indonesia.
Sure.
So there's one investor that I was trying to pursue, and I'll call him. Where are you? He'll say, I'm in New York. Okay. When can we talk? He say, next week I'm in Dubai. Let's talk there. And next week I'll catch up again. I'll call him again. Oh, where are you? And he said, I'm in Dubai, but I'm busy in meetings. Then let's talk next week. No, he is committed. He said, I will be investing. How much money at what valuation is the question.
Sure.
And one day on Friday I called him again. Oh, where are you? He said, I'm in Bali. I said, wait. I'm coming to Bali. So next morning, I booked the flight for Bali. I met him and I said, okay, let's sit. Let's talk. We need to close this conversation.
Sure.
And he was the first one who wrote a couple of $100,000 check.
Sure.
And he wrote subsequent checks as well.
Sure.
And in total, I think he's invested $1 million already in the company. And yeah, so that was how we got our first check. And then I So once you get your first commitment, you can just call the other guys and say, okay, the commitment is in, money has started.
Yeah.
People have started wiring the money.
And those were different times as well. I mean, we will discuss in depth about those times. But my question over here is, do you think it was much easier for you to raise this first pool because you had made, let's say, a successful exit, because you had that experience in your back of creating a venture, exiting that, and now having an idea or a germ of an idea in mind? How important does that play? A role does it play?
I think it is important. It helps, right? So you have direct access to the first set of angels who are willing to believe in you.
Who actually believe in you and now willing to back this new idea.
Okay. So you have a ready-made set of people where you can go without any reservation. You can just tell them just what you are planning to do, and you have no fear of getting rejected. Right? Half of the time you don't even know the people, and then you see, oh, what will he feel?
Correct.
What are they going to say?
Correct.
So now you have passed that journey. So you are not starting again from zero.
Sure.
Right? You know that you have a certain level of comfort with them. And if they like the ideas, then it's all about valuation and all those things.
Sure.
And most of the people, they invest when they write first check is because they like you as a person.
Correct.
They know that you will be able to do something about productive with the money. And so it happened, and they wrote the check, and $500,000 in account. I reached out to two my team members who were convinced about it, but the idea was let have something in account and money in the bank, then we'll see.
Sure.
So then while they were working part time on the project.
Okay.
So I said, guys, now you don't have any reason not to be working full time on this. So next day, both of them resigned from their company. One was working as a chief product officer of one of these big edtech company in India, valued approximately now I think it would be $1 billion in these downturns also. The other one was working with one of the largest delivery company in India. I got listed, I think, up around $5 billion valuation. He was heading the AI and ML division of that.
Nice.
And so 3 co-founders, we started working, and we had another young guy.
Did you know your co-founders for a long time?
Oh yes, I have known them almost for now 10 years.
10 years.
10 years. And I always wanted to work with them. It so happened at Bobble, when I wanted to work with them, I was actually ahead in the journey, and they wanted to come as co-founders. So to be fair to them, it was
Not viable.
Not viable for the company and for them as well.
Correct.
And they started their own journey, started working on their own products, and we had mutual appreciation for each other, and we wanted to work together. So this time it so happened that we were looking for some good idea at the same time.
Sure.
And one of them happened to be in Southeast Asia around that time, and he was also shocked by the
eating out culture.
Eating out culture, right? And so this is let's do something around it. And then we agreed, and we created a first prototype. But then we realized during the product development journey, when we started reaching out to the restaurants, the idea of showing this nutritious value to the customer, it did not.
Hi, Avid.
No restaurant.
When you said it for the first time, I just started doing the maths in my head. I'm like, you're talking about a region which consumes crazy amount of deep fried items in every meal.
Yes.
From breakfast to dinner.
Yes.
I mean, it's the worst thing to do for their business, to show calories, fat.
And we were very idealistic in our first,
Sure.
and I think that's how you
Begin.
when you're starting, and you are very pure. You're very purest.
Correct.
You start with a very pure intention of developing something which the society you think will need, but ultimately you can't make business out of it.
Yeah.
So when we reached out to the restaurant, most of the restaurant, no, we don't want to show this value. You're here to support me or kill my business.
Correct.
And then we said, okay, I think they are making sense. But definitely the idea, the transactions have to move to technology, unless this industry cannot move to the next level. And we have seen it everywhere. We have seen it in shopping, we have seen it in social, we have seen it in entertainment. The more consumers are interacting with the technology, more mind space you are able to capture.
Sure.
Right. More upsell and cross-sells you are able to do. More you are able to bring the customer back to your platform. Right. And with that basic thesis, we started reaching out to the restaurant that's saying that while delivery and all these problems have been solved by many companies, but I think the dining thing still has to be solved. Your customers are coming to the restaurant. You hardly know anything about them. You broadly know that he's a regular customer, right? Beyond that, you don't know how many times he has been to the restaurant, right? What has he been ordering? What is his eating pattern? Where he comes from? What is his social media profiles? What is his Facebook page? What is his Instagram? What is his WhatsApp? You don't know him, right? You can't. If he wants to come back to the restaurant, he will come back, but there is no tool for you to bring him back to the restaurant.
Correct.
Right. So, and then when he is inside the restaurant, your staff is so busy that there are so many opportunities to upsell, cross-sell and service him well are getting lost. Right. And I will see, and I'll go to the restaurants, whoever I'm going with, half of the time they're just raising their hand and waving their hands to the server, hoping he will see or she will see them and then come. But that's one of the my worst experiences. I keep looking at the waiters. Where are they? Where are the servers? And most of the time, I just end up not ordering again. So I thought that this has to move to technology, and we created this technology where people can now, when they walk into the restaurant, they can scan, order, pay, get their loyalty, see what all the promotions are there, and it's a seamless system that is integrated to the kitchen. So.
Okay, so let's just break it down from both the sides. So EasyEats from the side of the hotel, let's say for example of the restaurant manager or the restaurant owner, and then there is EasyEats for the for you and me, right? When we go and order our food. So let's talk for what is it for a restaurant owner?
Okay. For restaurant owner right now, any restaurant owner, they are juggling between multiple technologies, right? So for putting the order into the system, they have one technology. To receive Grab orders, they have another technology. To identify loyal customer, they have another technology. To integrate this into the kitchen system, they have another technology. Now, when they work with us, we bring everything to one single technology. So they just work with us, right? So that
Including POS.
Okay. Right. So anything that they need to run their restaurant is provided by us.
Okay.
So we provide them the latest technology. We provide them the latest hardware, which is Apple and iOS system. And our system runs on iOS. Now we are expanding into Android and Windows as well. But till recently, we were available only on iOS.
Okay.
Right. So very sophisticated infrastructure that we create for them. And this infrastructure, this technology that we have provided to them, gives them access to all kind of orders. So whether the order is coming from the table, whether the order is coming from Grab, whether the order is coming from Food Panda, it automatically comes to one single system.
Okay.
And that from this single system, it is directed to the kitchen for preparation. And this is all on technology.
Okay. So no inventory management out there.
It is there.
Inventory management as well.
Right. So yeah, from order to the payment, right? Payment can be over the counter, payment can be online.
Okay.
Right. And once the payment is done, order is getting processed in the kitchen. Order would then be served to the customers. Inventory, which has been uploaded in the system, will automatically start getting deducting depending on how much item is getting consumed.
Okay.
And once there's a threshold that has been hit, you will start seeing those warnings. So
okay.
The inventories are managed and automatically you will know and what item is critically low and all those things.
Sure.
Or low or at a decent level. All these are already system will calculate it for you. No one is doing it manually.
Okay.
It's all through technology.
Perfect. So
that's what.
So it's all automated in the back end as well.
Automated. Now what happens? This is a very basic solution that is available. Some of them are available already in the market. Now what differentiates us from other players is that we bring a lot of data analytics into the game.
Okay.
So when an end consumer is scanning and ordering, we start understanding his behavior. And we collectively use this behavior to start upselling, cross-selling and recommending items.
Okay.
So what we have seen is when we are doing this very proactively, one is we are helping restaurants to increase their revenue.
Sure.
Right. So if if the restaurant is generating $100 revenue without EasyEat, with EasyEat, they will be generating $120 revenue.
Sure.
Right. That's one of the advantage of using EasyEat. Second is they would be able to service their customer better because every customer's profile is getting created. So if you go to, if Bipin is going to a particular restaurant, when the order is placed by Bipin, restaurant staff would already know how many times Bipin has already been to the same restaurant, how much money he has spent, right? What charge is customization? What is his preference? Right? And then they'll come and serve you. Probably they will be addressing with you with your name, right? And we all know how we are all in love with our names. We like to be addressed by our name.
True.
So and then the guys also know how many times you have been there. So thank you for visiting a 5th time, 6th time, 7th time, 8th time, or it's your birthday month. Or, happy birthday.
You can personalize it.
You can personalize all those things. And so we created all those technologies. This is where the difference comes. And
So you started off first in Malaysia.
we started, So the way the company is structured is we are headquartered in Indonesia. We are headquartered in Singapore.
Sure.
We started our operation in Malaysia.
Okay.
And now we have scaled to a couple of thousand restaurants in Malaysia. And then we are now expanding into Indonesia.
Okay. What, okay. So I asked this to everyone who has ventured in Indonesia. How optimistic were you when you began? And how screwed up you got after, let's say, 2 quarters?
That's a very interesting question. So I was very, very optimistic when I moved to Indonesia.
The numbers look big, right? Massive numbers.
The number looks big, 1. 2 is I was almost coming from similar culture, Malaysia.
Yeah.
Right. And I thought...
Again, that myth gets broken very quickly.
Right. Within first 3 months, I realized all the hypotheses, all the myths that were created, everything that I had in my mind about Indonesia, most of it doesn't hold true. The only thing is the language, bhasa, still people, the language is common.
Yes, like
Culture is common.
Yes,
right.
Yes.
But so that was my... people are super nice in Malaysia and Indonesia as well.
Sure.
But business-wise, it's in 2 different geographies.
Yes.
Right. In first 3 months, I realized I came to Indonesia and I thought I would be going out and doing the first 100 sales, first 200 sales and do myself, which I did in Malaysia. And I said, I'm a good sales guy. I can just go and sell it. And my projections were like anything. Like I first 3 months, I would have 500 merchants and all those things. And I realized the language was a big problem. Right. Language was a big problem. And then there was another, which we all know, traffic is another big problem.
Correct.
So if I can do 5 meetings in Singapore, 4 meetings in Malaysia, I hardly can do 2 meetings in Jakarta.
I think also the sales cycle is a problem.
Sales cycle is a problem.
I mean, it's not, again, I'm not a fair comparison, but even if you compare, let's say, an enterprise sales, wherein you're selling, let's say, to a bank or a brand, or if you're selling a platform to a large scale or upscale restaurant, the whole decision-making process involves actually too many parameters.
Yes.
Decision makers most of the times are not clear. My experience I'm sharing. You might feel that you're talking to a decision maker. Like for example, let's say a restaurant owner. For all you know, that's a decision maker.
Correct.
But there is a very high chance that he's not.
Yep.
There actually someone at the back end who needs to doing it.
I'll give you an example. And I was analyzing this data with my team.
Sure.
And I said, we are doing so many meetings, but we are not getting closures. Why is it so? And the answer is we were meeting the PICs, the managers, operation managers. We were not meeting the owners. So the first problem that in this entire closure thing we solved is we are going to meet the owners only.
Okay.
Right. Or key decision makers.
Sure.
Right. There's no point traveling so much. Traveling in Jakarta is a tough thing.
It's tough. It's expensive.
It's expensive. Now, I don't want my staff member to be spending their energy and time and effort in meeting someone who cannot decide whether they want the technology or not. So we took a call. When we are setting up these meetings, we would make sure that we are meeting the owner or the person who's a key decision maker.
Sure.
It increased our number of conversions. So it shortened the entire sales cycle and decrease this time period and increase the conversions. That's one call that we took. Now, there's a different problem. While you are meeting owners, there are multiple owners for every restaurant.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So we have to meet multiple owners, but still we are meeting owners with,
Sure.
right, not as big a problem as it was earlier, but still it persists.
Sure.
So we are trying to address it. How can we make sure that both the owners be on the table when we are talking? Second is our pricing model is different and innovative because we are a purely technology company.
Sure.
So it's we don't charge any SaaS subscription kind of model where you have to pay fixed. Right. So we charge technology fees or a platform fees on every order.
Okay.
So which is most of the restaurants are not used to that kind of pricing model. So that's one of the challenge.
Okay.
Right. So that is there's an additional level of selling that is required, which increase our sales time.
But wasn't that a problem, sir, doing it in Malaysia?
But we have enough scale now. So market has accepted that model.
In Malaysia.
We have enough scale. So when you know your neighbor is paying, you're okay paying that price.
Okay.
But in here, most of the players that are there, in fact, even in Malaysia, then they are paying fixed subscription fees.
Okay.
Right. But the kind of features, kind of service, kind of technology that they get is very limited.
Just being devil's advocate over here, do you think restaurant owners really care?
If you are contributing to their revenue, they would have.
They do.
They do.
So you have to show them that larger picture.
Correct.
Like, okay, listen, if you do it like for the next 2 years or 3 years, this is the impact which EasyEats as a platform can bring in terms of your end revenue perspective.
So what we do is when we start working with restaurants, we take their historical data.
Okay.
I'll give you an example of one of the restaurants that we started working, and we launched the technology on that restaurant in December 2022.
Okay.
So we took their data of December 2021 and we showed them that December 2022, where we operated was 17 days. We have generated more revenue for them than December 2021. So we look at different cuts.
Sure.
And it's not just about revenue. We also proved and showed through data that every customer who's visiting the restaurant is ordering more.
Absolutely.
Average ticket size is higher. Right. While the total number of visitors have gone down in the restaurant, yet the revenue that we have been able to generate for them is higher. So we compared December versus December, January versus January. And we also compared December of EasyEat versus January of EasyEat, or January of EasyEat versus December of EasyEat. And same month last year to same month this year, we showed progress. 1 month when EasyEat was used for 17 days versus another month when EasyEat was used for 31 days, we also showed him the increment.
Sure.
So we were through data clearly able to, within 2 months, we were able to show him, we don't have to wait for 2 years.
Of course.
Right. Within 2 months, we were able to show him that with the technology, you are now generating additional 25% revenue.
Okay.
They agree to it. Some of the restaurant owners they want to use data.
Sure.
They want to use technology. But the options on the tables are very limited.
I think, I agree. I agree to that, but I also feel that, F&B is a tough business. Okay, let's all, we can all agree to this, right? There are a lot of factors involved. I'm purely talking from a restaurant owner's perspective, right? I don't have experience, but from whatever I've seen and spoken to from outsiders' perspective, I feel it's a very tough business. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of persistence, perseverance, and luck. Right? Right place, right food. One food becomes a hit. Now these days, some influencer makes you a hit or whatever. Right? Now if I was a restaurant owner, considering all these things, I'll be extremely careful about where my outflows are, apart from the traditional outflow. That I have to give overtime, I have to give whatever for my inventory management and everything. I'll be extremely careful that, where my outflows are. Especially if you're extremely old school, in your late 50s and 60s and 70s, it must be getting a lot more trickier. My question is that now with all the knowledge you have about operating in Indonesia for 1.5 years now?
Almost a year.
Almost a year now. Let's say if you were to start now with all the information, what would you do different? The reason I'm asking you this is because I've been speaking to a lot of folks who either want to enter Indonesia or have entered Indonesia. And again, with heavy optimism, great positivity. And 2 quarters later, they're like, what is happening? I don't know. So it's for them, right? What would you do different?
So actually, this is a very valid question, and we started asking this question within first 3 months.
Okay.
Right. What could we have done different, and why are we not doing it now? So one of the questions that was, how quickly can I hire local talent? if you think you can do it all alone in Indonesia, or you can just bring and like, parachute or paradrop this few of these,
Doesn't work.
it will not work. You need to have a person or a leadership which understands the local market, which can speak language, and things are not as aggressive as few other part of the world, India, China,
Correct.
US.
Correct.
So, and they have their own pace of doing the business. So these guys who are local, they understand all those things.
Correct.
So I would rather, even before I landed in Jakarta, the one thing that will change is I will hire someone, even before I land in Indonesia, I'll hire someone to be part of that core team. So we did that. I think but I should have been more aggressive on that.
Sure.
So I should have had a local sales leadership, which we built later.
Sure.
We thought that the country had a thing, we can be the sales leaders here, and we should need a local operation team.
Sure.
But while we had the local operation team, we did not have the local sales leader or leadership. We did not develop, and we hired juniors and the middle level sales guys, and we course corrected. Now we have someone who's a very senior guy.
Sure.
He's leading our sales function, and we have started seeing the result.
Sure.
I would have changed that.
Okay.
I would have had him as a first hire, instead of having like a 10th hire or 12th hire.
Sure. Sure.
So that's one of my learning. Second learning is I could have had a distributed team.
Okay. Please expand more.
While Jakarta is one city, but Jakarta is multiple city in one city. So traveling from one point to another point is far. You got to take like anywhere between 45 minutes to say an hour to reach a destination. So this is a non-productive time.
Sure.
So I would rather have some people placed at some pockets.
Pockets, correct.
North Jakarta,
West to south. Yeah.
BSD, then there's Depok, then there's Bogor.
Sure.
Yeah. So I would have some representatives there working from there, managing those clients or selling in those geographies. So that I realized it later.
Sure.
And yeah, so guys should have done that. So these are
Do you think if again just thinking out loudly, and this is for the listeners, right? Anyone who's willing to enter Indonesia. Do you think before you really launched Indonesia, do you think, like, let's say, spending couple of months yourself or with, let's say, one of the folks in Malaysia, doing a sort of a recce across the city, meeting restaurant owners for that matter, for example, do you think that helps in the launch?
it would have.
It would have helped.
Yeah, it would have. If we had before the launch, see, I think we were convinced that we have to come to Indonesia.
I mean, look, 2021, 2022, you've raised money. I mean, it's kind of obvious, right? I mean, you raise money with that proposition also, right? That, hey, listen, we're going to enter the largest Southeast Asian market. And you can't shy off from Indonesia for sure.
You are in Southeast Asia, you have to be in.
You have to be out.
Now, can you be better prepared?
Yes.
Answer is yes. How can we be better prepared? The answer is simple. Do the Reiki even before you incorporate. Come visit, talk to a few customers. And our optimism came from the fact that we were coming from Malaysia.
Coming
from India.
Correct.
I've been coming from any other geography. I would have done that.
Right.
So I was coming from Malaysia.
These two are very different.
Now I know them.
So I'll tell you a personal story, okay? So I have lived and worked in Malaysia from 2010 until 2014, okay? And I love the city. I love KL. Right. But now my favorite is Jakarta. No questions on that, okay? So in 2014, I moved back to India when my son was born. We want to spend some time with my family and everyone. And 2017, I got an opportunity to move to Indonesia. I had never been to Indonesia before that. I'd been to Bali once. That's it. So I was like, it's going to be very similar. I mean, the language sounds very similar. When I got my offer letter also, I'm like, yeah, this looks good. Because I was all considering that it's pretty similar to Malaysia. Turns out it is not at all.
True.
I mean, for one, Jakarta is more expensive than KL. Everyone.
Yes, it is.
In everything, by the way. It is more expensive than KL. And the business operates very differently. Because I have done both large enterprise and I've done SMB and lower sales as well, right? In whatever experience I've had in the last 7 years. It is extremely different. The way enterprises operate, their buying cycles, their procurement cycles, the way their CFOs operate, it's sun and moon, to be honest. Right? So one thing which and even like a lot of friends even now want to move from Malaysia, and they're very successful enterprise sales guys. I'm like, boss, listen, take 2 weeks off.
Yes.
Come over here. I will set up a catch up for you with some CTOs. Try to sell. Try to sell, you'll get an idea. Because in Indonesia, you never have a bad meeting. Every meeting is a good meeting.
Yes, correct.
And that is a big problem in sales. Because if every meeting is a good meeting, every meeting goes on your sales force.
Yes, correct. Yes.
Or your pipeline.
Yes.
And then it just tanks from there.
And so my experience, I think in terms of the style of working, I would still not say that it is sun and the moon kind of difference. I would say if you have operated or if you have operations in Malaysia, if you have interacted with the Malaysians, you already have some kind of an advantage.
Sure.
Particularly if you're coming from Malaysia, at least the language advantage is there. At least you know the kind of the culture of these two country. The
a lot of menu is similar also.
Mannerism is similar, right? So that advantage you have. Something that doesn't work in your favor, which works in Malaysia, is the prominent the language of business language is English. Yeah, here it is Bhasa. So that's, and if nothing has changed, right? Jakarta being Jakarta, Malaysia being Malaysia, KL being KL, and I could have it's just common advantage of the language. I think the result would have been different.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So that was one thing. Traffic has its own challenges, but yes, there are a few things that we can definitely do much better if we are prepared. And one of the preparation is, as you said, come and visit Indonesia. And one of the things that I also noticed is from what you just said is our exposure to Indonesia starts from Bali.
Yeah.
So most of us will first go to Bali, then to any other cities of Jakarta, Indonesia.
Correct.
So before I came to Jakarta, I think I was already 3 times to Bali.
Yeah. And Bali, everyone speaks English.
And
all life is sorted out there.
When you have nice, like a fancy restaurant, is doing so well, they are working fine there. Right, and so you feel like in Jakarta would be almost similar. Jakarta is very different city, and as you said, this is one of my favorite cities as well. Nightlife here is great.
Yeah,
right. So people are super cool.
People are the best. People are the best.
For all those, I think I should share some good experiences being in Indonesia. Initially, when I was there, I had no this Grab GoPay wallet. So what I do is I carry cash.
Okay.
All the time. Now, so my favorite mode of transport is you take Gojek. So you were fascinated by Gojek sitting on the bike. Things of Jakarta. So most often it will happen that either I will not have the change or the guy will not have the change.
Yes.
Right. So now it depends on who would make the compromise.
Correct.
So if it is it's all about amount. So I have seen even the guy who's like the Gojek driver.
They let go. They let go.
No, they will let go. Right. Yeah. I would say I don't have the money, so I don't have the change. I have like 100,000 rupiah amount, and I have to pay him 1,500. Now, leaving 85,000 rupiah does not make sense.
Correct.
Right. And this guy is in a hurry. Yeah. So I'll ask him, can I get your phone number? So he'll give me the phone number. Right. And he will trust that I will transfer the
Correct.
Right. And he will say, or he will just go.
Yeah.
No problem.
Yeah.
And I will definitely, because now I'm economic conscious.
Yeah.
I will ask my team members, can you transfer money to this guy? But he will not make me stand there. Wait, no. I will not let you go till the money has been transferred to me. It's not just once. I think it has happened almost on daily basis. So that was one of the super nice experience that I had in Jakarta.
No, people are lovely. People are absolutely lovely.
And you cannot be crossing a person in Indonesia on Jakarta in your building without seeing the smile on this guy's face. So everyone in Indonesia who you are passing through, they would actually try to smile.
Sets up a very nice tone for your day.
Yes.
Right? I mean, not much like, it's not like anger or frustration out there. It's like everyone's smiling.
So when I get from my building to my office, so it's just a small walk, right?
Sure.
Right. It's like 700 meters I just walk. And like pagi every day. Salamat pagi. Just keep saying pagi. So nice. Yeah.
And it cuts across different fractions of society.
Correct.
So it's not that it's only, let's say, your security folks or your Gojek drivers. No, it cuts across everyone.
Correct.
So like I've seen the CEOs who would just walk by anywhere and they'll smile. They'll just say hello.
Pagi.
And I'm like, okay, this week. I mean, we come from India. Right now, everyone's angry. I don't know for what. But everyone's angry. So yeah, everyone's happy. Right. So
this was something interesting.
Talking about happy, let's talk about the happy times of good VC money, which apparently has ended. So how was your fundraising experience? I believe you raised close to 5 million in 2021.
6 million to
6 million total. Okay. So from what I hear, again, I was not very actively involved in the ecosystem. I was working for a company which is now a unicorn, Insider, and I've seen them go through their phases of raising money. And from what I hear, that it was comparatively easier, lot less scrutiny, lot more fund available, very easy to deploy, especially if the folks like you. But now it's a very different environment, right? So I want you to shed light on both these environments, because you've seen through multiple cycles, right? You've raised funds for Bobble in the past, then for EasyEats, and now I believe you're planning to raise the next round. Let's talk about that.
So I think I've seen this cycle twice, these funding winters. One was in 2015, if I'm correct and right, if my memory is supporting me. I think similar environment. And my personal view is usually VCs are operating on extremes.
Okay.
Either they're too liberal, okay, they will just keep throwing out of FOMO, they'll keep throwing money. And or they would be extremely conservative. They will just keep holding on the money and not make investment. And I don't think these are in any situation. People shouldn't be operating on extremes. They should be across cycles. They should be investing.
True.
Right. So that's what my experience has been so far. We have been raising money, not the round.
Sure.
And we keep taking checks from the investors who are interested, but we have not created a formal round since 2021.
Okay.
Right. So there are existing.
Sorry. Do you think this is the way forward?
No, I think rounds will be back. There's some kind of correction that is happening.
Okay.
Businesses with no model, businesses like ventures or startup with no business models were getting ridiculous valuation.
Correct.
And
envious valuations.
But ultimately, my personal, we are not chasing valuation. So we are not valuation chasers. And I personally come from economics background. So I graduated in economics. And ultimately, I believe the economics will catch up.
Sure. Yeah.
Every business, everywhere, economics will ultimately catch up. You cannot fool economics.
Absolutely. Not for long.
Well, not for the long. You can be any company. You can be a listed company. You can be a non-listed company. You can have millions of dollars. You can have $1 billion of valuation. But you cannot just be fooling economics. Economics have their strange ways of catching up.
Sure.
And they'll catch up. Ultimately, I remember one of my professor saying management is all about 3 variables. Your P, your R, your C. Your profit is equal to your revenue, your minus your cost. Beyond that, there's no management. If you can manage these 3 variables, everything will work and come in place. Now, we are talking about everything, but we are not talking about these variables.
Correct.
And so, we have been focusing on all these variables. From day one, we were very sure that we would be unit positive.
Okay.
So, 98% of our orders are, we generate money.
Okay.
The only expense that we have is because we have a talent, which we are using to develop product. And ultimately, eventually, the revenue that we are generating through product would catch up, and it will work out. We don't have huge marketing costs.
You don't need.
I don't need all those things.
Yeah.
And we are happy growing slow. Growth is not something that we are so obsessed. We are very obsessed about our customer service. We are very obsessed about the value that we provide to the customer.
Happy growing slow. Okay, that is one term which probably no VC would have liked to hear in, again, my assumption in 2020, 2021. I mean, the overall sentiment back then, again, correct me if I'm wrong, overall sentiment was that growth at any cost, right? That here's a check. You've shown me a business plan for 5 years. Can you do this in 3 years? Right? Take more money if needed. I personally know quite a few startups and the founders who have gone through that cycle wherein there's a lot of money available that, hey, listen, grow at any cost. So you create a culture of that kind, right? I mean, it needs a hustle culture, right? So you've created a culture of growth at any cost. And now 6 months or 9 months back, the same VCs came back and said, that boss, relax now. Now you got to pivot. Within this year, you either show revenue. So for who are doing revenue, you'll show me profit, or else we cannot top it up. And these are large rounds, right? Now the biggest struggle which these folks are facing is that how do you change the culture all of a sudden? All this while you've created this army which with a different goal, you feeded them a different goal altogether. Now suddenly you can't ask them to hustle for something else.
And I think it's more of a human nature as well. Keep growing big numbers, give us certain level of, it keeps us, or it gives us some kind of high, right? Exponentially growing. Oh, I've grown us say 40% month on month, 50% month on month.
False sense of achievement also too, I think.
Maybe, but ultimately making a profitable business is a very boring task. Right.
Okay.
It's not as exciting as having a high growing or high grow the business. You have to be at certain level. You have to be very comfortable with those boring routine of going and finding where is the efficiency.
Can't these two things go together?
They can go together. There are
like high growth, high profit businesses.
There are businesses that can be but
it's difficult.
It's difficult, and so basically money is very important. Now, once you have solved the very fundamental unit or you have laid the foundation. So first you have to lay the very strong foundation on which you can build your growth.
Of course.
Right. I remember one of my investors saying, it's very easy to fix up things when they're small.
Fair.
But it's very difficult to fix up things when they're exponential or they have scaled up big time.
Sure.
Now imagine I have prioritized growth over my foundation or my unit economics. Building unit economics after growth is almost impossible.
Exactly.
Right. But building unit economics and building a sound business model and then adding growth or just putting gas for growth is okay. Right. So my idea was let us take talent, solve the basic problem, create a business fundamentally a product that is needed by our merchants. They're willing to pay for it. And then growth will figure out. Then it's a function of capital.
Yes.
Right. So we were very clear about this. Now, unfortunately, the capital is not easily available. Correct. But fundamentally, we are strong.
Which is good.
So fundamentally, we are very strong. We still make 95-98% of our orders are profitable. Right. In Malaysia, I think the number going by the initial trends of July, we should be hitting profitability in Malaysia this month.
Oh, very nice.
My target is we should hit profitability in Indonesia by end of this year. And whatever capital that we'll raise is for growth. So we'll then be focusing on growth, right? But not to build. I think $6 million were enough to build that and prove that this model will work.
Very nice, very nice. No, so again, I'm talking in very general scenarios, not really easy. I mean, because you have been around, right? If someone wants to start a business today, considering what the macroeconomics is there, right? I personally feel the same rules don't apply anymore. The rules of pre-2022, I believe the rules of the game has changed. I don't really know what are the new rules, to be honest. But the way I see it is that you can't really build anymore. Not anymore. You can build large companies, large ventures with like 1 or 2 founders. You need to have a large co-founding team. Founders with different skill sets coming in together. That is one. And second, you should have a very good angel network. Angels who are not only willing to invest the money, but also bring in that expertise on the table. Be it their product expertise, tech expertise, marketing aspects, their network or whatever. Because it will be very difficult to onboard the experts because it's going to be small checks, right? Number one, do you agree with this theory? And if yes, then what else along with this needs to be added for anyone who's starting today?
Okay, so from the angel side, I think this expectation is fair. That you bring in the angels who can add a lot of value from product, from marketing, from all those sides. But practically it doesn't happen.
Sure.
Right. So angels are invested in so many companies.
Correct.
Go to their LinkedIn profiles and they'll say someone is invested in 50 companies, 60 companies. They don't have that kind of bandwidth to spend time on each and every company. So ultimately, you can go to them for advice. And they would provide you advice on need basis.
Sure.
Right. So you can always go to them and get the advice. That's helpful. Right. But expecting them to be always available, brainstorming them, and with you and all those things is almost impossible. Having said that, I have one of the investors who's almost like a co-founder.
Yes. That's what I'm talking about.
And it's an absolute pleasure. In my entire life, I have been in my 2 companies, I have had interacted and got investment from approximately 20-25 angel investors, and over the period I've got to know maybe 152 angel investors who I would personally available on the call and all those kind of things, but I've never seen this kind of super angel who acts like your co-founder, and he's a super busy guy.
Sure.
He's super busy guy and a legend in his own sense. But
he makes time for you.
He makes time. He would see us and talk to us almost on twice a month basis. Spend an hour, collect documents, things that, and he would, because he has access to so many resources, he will help us find those right resources to go through, work, refine our models and product features and all those things.
Sure.
So amazing guy to be on the cap table, and this is not usual.
Sure.
Right. No, I completely agree. This is very unusual.
Sure.
And every time we talk to him, we get inspired. And I remember one statement that he made, and he knows that the founders are going through very tough time. These are not easy times for founders.
Sure.
And one of the biggest investors in the portfolio, and then then they just said, if you have any problem, personal or professional, never ever hesitate to reach out to me. And like, just so awesome guy. Right. And so it's always inspiring to have those kind of people on your cap table. And I have this one single experience that makes it so lively.
No, I mean, I completely agree. So thankfully for us, right, I mean, we have been building Ketitik for last 1.5 years now. And I was hell-bent on having few folks whom I know who actually don't invest. I wanted them to come on board, right? So I was pretty much talking. Boss, you got to come. And they're like, I don't invest. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's like, but why? I'm like, look, I can't afford to hire you. So these guys are senior product guys, senior tech guys, senior analytics folks, right? And I'm like, let's get a drink. So we drink together for like a couple of hours and like, please come over. And everyone whom I was behind, they all came over. Now, again, not kidding at all, okay? So I'll give an example. I won't take name. So there's one guy who's kind of a product expert, right? He's built large mobile apps across. The day he came on board, he signed the safe note. Next week, Wednesday, some Wednesday or Thursday, he wired the money. On Saturday, without asking, on Saturday, he emailed me a 39-page product document, which he created for us. I did not ask. And I mean, he was telling, boss, I would have charged you or anyone a minimum of $25,000 for this project. You buggers made me pay and made me invest. This is where I am coming from, right? I mean, again, this is completely my theory right now, that in this market, if you want to build a large sustainable business, and if you're starting right now, get the right set of angels. I mean, there are active angels, passive angels. I completely agree. We have some passive angels also on our board, which I'm completely okay with. They're very clear that, boss, I like the idea. I like you. Here's the money. Send me the report. And if I have questions, I'll reach out to you.
True.
Then there are these super angels. Like, again, my analytics initially, super sorted. We did not have anyone. We had this one guy who has managed like billions of data points in analytics, right? And for him, it's creating a query. Right?
So yeah, so some of these angels are truly, there's a reason why they're called angels.
Correct.
Yeah. But yeah, so that's how it is. Our experience has been very good, and he's been a continuous source of support. And you would be surprised if I tell you how much money he has individually, his individual investment in EasyEat.
I mean, it's a massive amount, is it?
It's like almost like a VC.
Whoa.
Almost like a Series A VC.
So he's really invested.
Yeah.
I mean, he's invested in the product. He's invested in you and your co-founders.
Yeah. So he's a super amazing guy, and we have a blind check from him. Whatever round, whatever valuation, I will prorate it.
Yeah, super sweet. I mean, that gives you such confidence, right?
Sometimes you just want to be successful because people like him are backing you.
Correct.
You don't want
to let them down.
Exactly.
Which is absolutely. Okay, so we have one segment in our series wherein you got to give a elevator pitch of EasyEats. So consider me a VC with no money.
Okay.
And you bump into me in an elevator. You've got like 50 seconds, 60 seconds. And you got to pitch EasyEats to me.
Oh, very nice. Okay. That's very challenging.
So yeah, I mean, whichever way you want to do it.
I see. Okay. Hi, Bipin. I am Wassem. I am founder of EasyEat, and we help restaurants digitize their entire operation, starting from the table to the kitchen. Everything is seamlessly on one single technology. Interestingly, we have been working with more than 1,000 restaurants in Malaysia and Indonesia, and each of the restaurants we have been able to contribute 20% additional revenue. And we are on to something very big, and I would want to have you on my cap table. Let me know when can we meet and have a detailed discussion.
Nice, so sweet. Very sweet.
How was it?
It's an elevator pitch. You can't really close it.
Yeah.
No, but this was good. Okay, I think we are towards the end of it.
Yeah.
Do you feel that there was anything which we should have discussed but we have not discussed?
I think you discussed a lot of it, and there are certain things like around product we should have
got more detail.
That is okay.
I doubt none of your buyers are on our channels. It's okay.
But I think another thing that is a lot of founders are going through tough times.
Yes.
Yeah. As a founders, we should talk about the challenges that they may be facing. One, and two,
what do you think? Like, apart from, look, one is money, right? Which is a very clear problem. But apart from that, I believe there is a lot of mental health struggle which is going on, which is caused by either lack of runway or, let's say, investor pivots and more. What do you want to talk? What do you want to say about these things?
So whoever in entrepreneur I meet, even my co-founders and team members, I make it sure that they keep investing time on their health. Right. And as an investor, not investors, as the founders, we became so obsessed with what we are building that we start neglecting our health, right?
Correct.
And it starts reflecting on your mental well-being over a period of time.
Sure.
And you cannot have a healthy mind and healthy thoughts and all those things unless you have a healthy body.
True.
So it's very important to keep focusing on the health. And also have a very, another thing that I personally think, have a set of people who can keep assuring you that things will get well soon. Right? There's a hope that we have been through the same journey.
Yeah.
Right. And time can be tough, but this is how the businesses are built. Right.
Sure.
And if there's someone who's assuring you, then you feel good about it.
Sure.
And I think as founders, we should talk about it more often. We should talk about having a healthy lifestyle. That is very important. And don't get overwhelmed by just because you have raised so much of money, you have a pressure of building the product. It will eventually happen if you are sincere, if you are committed, and if you have right set of investors and advisors, right? And this is not end of all. If it will not work, okay, there are failures. It happens. It's part of the business. It's part of life.
Sure.
Right. And so that's what I want to tell people. And just focus on some business fundamentals. Things will fall in place.
I mean, it is, to be honest, it is that simple. But too much of distractions.
Too much of distraction, too much of comparison, too much of...
comparisons are also not fair. It's not even fair comparisons. Someone built it in a different time at a different scale compared to what you're doing, but you end up comparing yourself with that person. It's not fair on you, nor on them.
Not on them. You have to define your swim lane and keep swimming in your lane, right? What your left and right guys are doing there, it's their own business. And that's very important. And yeah, all will be winners in their own way.
On that note, let's end this.
Thank you.
It was really good catching up. Thank you.